Well, now go to Accra, Ghana, where Bennett Joseph is live with me to unwrap what the protest in Ghana has been about today. Good to see you, Bennett. Quickly, take us through what went down today from the perspective of one who's on ground there.
Okay, so we arrived at the protest ground at the Accra Mall in the Greater Accra region at about 6 a.m. Ghana time. When we arrived there, the protesters were a bit scanty. They came in their tents, and then it moved on to hundreds. And at the end of the day, the protesters had clocked around 1,000 protesters marching down to the parliament and to the presidency to submit 2 petitions upon which they were asking for an improved healthcare system for Ghanaians, security, and to abolish the system of corruption and impunity in the system. The protest was led by the National Youth Organizer of the NDC, the National Democratic Congress, which is the major opposition party here in Ghana in the person of George Opare Addo. And so the protest, according to the NDC, was a very huge success, judging by the number of protesters that came out for the protest. And they believe that with what they've done today, the Nana Akufo-led government would listen to their demands.
Well, they call it D-Day finally, and the talk about the police managing this situation has been top on the conversation amongst Africans. How did this go today? Were there abuses, or did you see a civil Ghana police force in action?
Sulai, I must tell you that the image of the Ghanaian police amongst Ghanaians is not one that one would be proud of, especially because of cases of human rights abuse that has been meted out against protesters and civil rights activists. But the police forces were on ground today, and to the best of my knowledge, they were coordinated and civil to ensure that there was no breakdown of law and order. I also had the opportunity to speak to some of the police officers myself, and they tell me that they have been really impressed with the conduct of the protesters, and they say that contrary to what most Ghanaians think about the Ghanaian police force, that the Ghanaian police force are actually available to ensure that the rights of Ghanaians are protected. And but again, like I said, the image of the Ghanaian police here on ground, from what the locals tell me, is not so much to write home about.
Quickly here, I wanted you to tell us how the protesters were received at the parliament earlier today when they took the petition to the parliament.
Well, the NDC were optimistic that they would have been received by Nana Akufo-Addo himself. However, he was nowhere on ground. The protesters were received by the country's deputy chief of staff, to whom they gave their petition. And of course, the deputy chief of staff, in the person of Emmanuel Bossman, said that he would ensure that the petition gets to Nana Akufo-Addo himself. But I think that was a big disappointment for the protesters, because they felt that since the protest had in attendance members of parliament and top place government officials belonging to the National Democratic Congress, they had expected that Nana Akufo-Addo himself would have come to receive them and address their concerns. But to their disappointment, they were received by the deputy chief of staff. But the deputy chief of staff addressed the protesters, saying that he would ensure that the petition which they have brought before the presidency and to parliament gets to Nana Akufo-Addo.
And before I let you go, what kind of message has this sent to the government of President Nana Akufo-Addo? Initially, they thought this wasn't going to hold, but now it is held. Have you been able to get any feedback from those in authority?
I spoke with the National Youth Organizer of the National Patriotic Party, which is the ruling party here in Ghana. They tell me that they believe that the wave of protests rocking Ghana right now is politically motivated. They believe that they have done well in spite of the challenges of COVID-19.